These weren't just video games. They were rituals. Saturday morning cartoons you could control, worlds so deeply memorized you could navigate them in your sleep. Each of these franchises had something most studios spend their entire existence trying to manufacture. A generation of fans who would have bought anything with their name on it. And then, one by one, someone decided they weren't worth it anymore. These are 8 retro gaming franchises that had everything and didn't survive corporate America. If you grew up with a controller in your hands and you still feel the grief to prove it, this video is for you. Hit subscribe right now and stick around because the number 1 on this list is going to start a fight in the comments, and we want you there for it. PaRappa the Rapper invented a genre, and almost nobody gives him the credit. Released on the original PlayStation in 1996, PaRappa was a flat, paper-thin cartoon dog trying to learn how to drive, cook, and survive daily life through rap. The mechanic was entirely new. Your teacher, a giant onion in a karate dojo, a Jamaican-accented frog in a convertible, a moose in a restaurant kitchen, rapped a line at you. You echoed it back by pressing the face buttons in rhythm. Miss the beat, and PaRappa flubbed the words, his delivery falling apart, the crowd losing interest. Nail every syllable, and he'd start improvising, freestyling over the track in a way that made the song genuinely better. Sony shelved the franchise after creator Masaya Matsuura stepped back. A 2017 remaster came and went. Today, PaRappa is a meme. The genre he invented went on to make billions. He got a quiet goodbye. Spyro the Dragon was Insomniac Games' answer to Mario 64, a purple dragon with attitude, designed for the PlayStation in 1998. And the thing that separated Spyro from every other 3D platformer was what he could do that no one else could. He could fly. Not for a second, not as a power-up. Spyro glided, swooped low across open landscapes, and breathed fire that lit up the screen in shades of orange that made the PlayStation hardware look genuinely proud of itself. Each world was its own pocket dimension, medieval kingdoms, frozen tundra, desert bazaars, connected through glowing portals. Insomniac had built a world that wanted you to stay in it. 3 classics, 12 million copies sold. Then Insomniac handed the IP off and moved on to Ratchet & Clank. Activision swallowed the dragon whole and rebuilt him as a Skylanders figure, a plastic toy on a portal. The 2018 Reignited trilogy reminded everyone what he once was. He's still out there, just frozen, again, in a different kind of crystal. Banjo-Kazooie was Rare's answer to Mario 64, and in 1998, quietly, some people thought it was better. You played as Banjo, a honey bear with a backpack. Inside the backpack was Kazooie, a sarcastic red bird who served as your jump boost, your egg launcher, your flight ability, and your best friend. The two of them bickered constantly. The worlds they moved through were architectural wonders. Freezeezy Peak, a frozen mountain with a snowman large enough to climb. Mad Monster Mansion, a haunted estate that played its horror completely straight. Each world held jiggies, golden puzzle pieces, and musical notes scattered in every corner. The 2000 sequel Banjo-Tooie expanded everything, worlds so large they connected to each other underground. Rare, at that moment, was the most respected studio in the industry. Then Microsoft bought Rare for $375 million in 2002. The Banjo soul never survived the acquisition. The 2008 reboot, Nuts and Bolts, replaced platforming with vehicle construction. Fans felt it as a personal betrayal. The bear lives now as a Smash Bros. Cameo, a legacy appearance in someone else's game. Mega Man was Capcom's Blue Hero, a robot built for peace, given no choice but to fight. From 1987 forward, the series operated on a loop that was near perfect. Dr. Wily had turned 8 robot masters against humanity, and Mega Man stopped them. You chose which boss to fight first. You learned their stage. You survived their attacks. And when you finally beat them, when you cracked their pattern and found the window for the killing blow, you took their weapon.
Beat Elecman, you gained the Thunder Beam. Beat Cutman, you took the Rolling Cutter. The right weapon turned a brutal fight into a one-hit wonder. The wrong weapon turned it into a war of attrition. Across more than 50 games and 41 million copies sold, Mega Man defined the run-and-gun genre for 2 decades. Capcom canceled Mega Man Legends 3 in 2011. Creator Keiji Inafune had already walked away. The franchise went dark for 7 years. Mega Man 11 arrived in 2018. And then silence. Capcom has never explained why.
Crash Bandicoot was Naughty Dog's answer to Mario, a rubber-faced, wide-eyed marsupial who became the unofficial mascot of the original PlayStation in 1996. When you picked up the controller, you understood immediately why. The game put you in a narrow corridor of a universe, running directly toward the camera, like a carnival ride that was trying to kill you. You spun through crates, collecting Wumpa fruit like confetti. You belly-flopped on enemies. You timed jumps over gaps, deliberately one stride too wide. Boulders chased you from behind at speeds that gave you exactly 0 time to think. When you died, and you died often, Crash would turn and look directly at you, wide-eyed and faintly betrayed, in an animation that moved like a Looney Tunes cartoon come to life. In Japan, Crash outsold most of Nintendo's lineup. On the PlayStation, he was the face. Sony refused to buy the IP. Naughty Dog walked away. The 2017 Insane trilogy sold millions. Since Crash 4 in 2020, silence. The marsupial that built the PlayStation sits in a corporate IP vault. Guitar Hero was the franchise that made millions of people believe, for about 45 minutes on a Friday night, that they could actually play guitar. Launched by Harmonix in 2005, it handed you a plastic controller shaped like a Les Paul. On screen, a highway of colored notes descended toward you in rhythm with a real song. On Easy, it was a party trick. On Expert, it was the closest a video game had ever come to making you feel like a musician. The crowd would erupt. Slash would appear on stage beside you, the actual Slash, during a solo that demanded everything your fingers had. And when you hit every note, you felt something that had no business being inside a video game. Guitar Hero 3 became the first single video game in history to gross $1 billion. And then, Activision flooded it. 8 Guitar Hero titles in 12 months. Band Hero, DJ Hero, Aerosmith, Metallica, Van Halen. The market that had generated $2 billion in a single year collapsed 46% the next. By 2010, Warriors of Rock sold 86,000 copies in its first week. Guitar Hero 3 had sold 1.5 million. Activision didn't walk away from Guitar Hero. They held it underwater until it stopped moving. Castlevania was Konami's Gothic pillar, a 36-year franchise about a family of vampire hunters and the castle that would never stay dead. From 1986, the series gave you a whip, the vampire killer, and sent you through Dracula's castle against skeletons and bats and Medusa heads that moved in infuriating diagonal arcs. The Belmonts didn't run like modern platformer characters. They strode, deliberately, heavily, and every hit had consequence. Then, in 1997, Symphony of the Night put you in Dracula's castle as Alucard, Dracula's own son, armed with dark powers and the freedom to explore the castle as a single interconnected map. You leveled up, you equipped armor, and when you thought you'd beaten the game, Symphony of the Night flipped the map upside down and revealed an entirely inverted castle waiting above it. It invented the Metroidvania genre. Hollow Knight, Ori, Dead Cells all owe it a debt they can never fully repay. Konami shelved the franchise in 2014, the same year it gutted its console division. Today, Castlevania exists as a Netflix anime and a pachinko machine. The whip has gone quiet. Silent Hill was Konami's masterpiece, a survival horror series set in a fog-drenched Pennsylvania town where every street felt like the wrong turn you couldn't undo. Resident Evil scared you with things that jumped out. Silent Hill scared you with the suggestion that something was already there. The fog reduced your visibility to 10 feet in every direction. You carried a radio that emitted static whenever a creature was near, not when you could see it, before you could see it. The static would grow louder as the thing got closer, and you'd be standing in the middle of an empty street, radio screaming, unable to tell which direction the sound was coming from. Then, in 2001, came Silent Hill 2. James Sunderland receives a letter from his wife asking him to return to Silent Hill. His wife has been dead for 3 years. It isn't a horror game, it's a psychological excavation of grief. In 2014, Konami abruptly canceled Silent Hills, the Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro collaboration. The PT demo was removed permanently. You cannot download it today. Whatever Kojima and del Toro were building, we will never know. And that loss is permanent. Every franchise on this list had something the games industry spends decades trying to manufacture. A real audience. People who didn't just play these games, they kept them. Kept the cases, kept the soundtracks running in the back of their heads for 30 years, without trying. These franchises didn't die because fans moved on. Guitar Hero's audience never left. They just had nothing left to buy. Someone made a Castlevania anime that people watch like prestige television. PaRappa's remaster sold to people who still remembered every word. The love was always there. What happened wasn't audience abandonment. What happened was boardrooms, licensing deadlines, studio acquisitions, and the particular kind of corporate impatience that mistakes a franchise for a product and a fan for a customer. These games were built by people who cared. They were ended by people who didn't. Subscribe to Patent Pending. We find those stories. New documentary every week.